This project came about when I had a chat to Alice about her previous books. She's done two beautiful photography books featuring Tasmanian houses, and I said to her, when are you going to do one about gardens? And she said, well, I'll do it if you write it. So here we are.
That was about 3 years ago.
I think it was about 3 years ago. And we've known each other for a long time. We live in the same district, and our families are old family friends. And we just have the same idea about the same love for gardens, didn't we?
Yes, and we also had the same themes that we wanted to capture throughout the book, and the same idea about which gardens were important to us all the way along. The selection process for the gardens was quite a difficult one. We didn't ever want to go and visit a garden and then not include it in the book, so we did quite a lot of research in the selection process, and that's because we wanted a garden that represents all sorts of different genres of gardening. So we didn't want to, say, have 20 beautiful old grand homes with acres of garden. We wanted gardens that represented all the things a garden can be, so it included really unusual spaces that some people might not have thought of before.
Yeah, we sort of stretched the definition of garden in a way, didn't we? And we didn't want to just have a book that was full of horticultural tips or gardens that everybody had seen before. We wanted something that really showed the hidden pockets of Tasmania.
We also wanted gardens that had stories behind them. So you could have the most beautiful garden in the world that is done by gardeners, but there wouldn't be a story there that was engaging and insightful. And so Meg found these incredible stories with all of our gardeners, and our book isn't just a picture book, it's a book of short stories with photographs of these gardens. So it's very much about the gardeners as much as the gardens themselves.
Yeah, and we didn't want to go and visit someone and then say, oh, you're not in the book. And actually, as it turned out, there wasn't one garden we visited that wasn't worthy of being in these pages. So
and
it was 20
gardener,
gardens we went to.
And every gardener had a story that just, really touched us.
Yeah. I just wanted to see Alice get in the water in winter.
Yes, and such a glamorous thing that was. I wanted to photograph the underwater garden because I just think the story is extraordinary, and what the people who are replanting these kelp forests are doing is exactly the same as other people planting gardens. They are collecting seeds and they're propagating and they're tending, but what they're doing is just so significant and so important in terms of the ecology that I just wanted to share their story. And I had to learn how to dive in order to do that, which made it the most difficult one in the book to photograph.
Yeah, and it's such an important story, and I had no idea until I started writing it how difficult this story would be to capture into one chapter, because the diversity of Tasmania's marine plants is incredible and the role they play is so important. And yeah, so we just couldn't not have that story in there. It's so important.
And Simon, my guide, and who Meg wrote the story about, was such a phenomenal person to work with. He's just so effervescent and so enthusiastic about the sea and so giving in what he does. And so it was wonderful to go diving with him and for him to show me his underwater forest.
The ghost garden was, we were intrigued by relic gardens throughout Tasmania. There may not be anyone living there anymore, or even a structure or a house, and definitely not the gardener themselves, but there are still plants. And one of the ones that piqued our interest in particular was in Queenstown on the King River. And there's a huge century-old rhododendron tree that was planted by the wife of the foreman, the mine manager, wasn't he? And they were from America, and she was homesick. And we found out all about her as much as we could. And to get to the rhododendron, we had to raft down the King River for, I think it was an 8-hour day.
It was a huge day, but it was a very cold, thrilling, exciting,
beautiful,
wonderful day. And we got the other people who were in our boat, very excited. They now scream rhododendron.
They were spotting rhododendron.
Because we were looking for this giant tree that we knew was there, but we couldn't get there any other way.
This is actually, that's a photograph that Alice took of the rhododendron. You can't capture the whole plant in one photo because it's huge.
And it's in the middle of absolutely nowhere. The only way to get there is to raft with King River rafting, and it was just the most extraordinary day.
It was wonderful.